Hey, it's Romania Black, and I opened this early today on accident. I'm trying to be healthy. I'm trying to limit myself to, if I have any soda on a given day, it's 1 can. I'm like, that's all I need. I need to cut back on soda. I really should just be doing 1 can a week when I do Steins Gate 0, but I'm trying to limit my soda intake. I was off soda for like years and years and years, and then I slowly got back onto it. Steins Gate is not the reason I got back onto it. It just happened to correlate. So now I'm trying to like wean myself back off of it. It's not been successful in 2026, but we're going to keep trying. So anyway, it's been like 2 weeks since I watched episode 6 of Steins Gate 0 because I was gone traveling with the team I coach, and I just got back this week from our national tournament. Our season is over, so I can get back to recording uninterrupted. And yeah, we kind of left on a cliffhanger, so it's probably a good thing I'm back. But yeah, I originally was going to take this entire week off, and then I thought, no, I've already taken 2 weeks off. I cannot wait anymore. I need to know what's going to happen in this episode. The good news is, one, we can watch the OP and ED now. Whoop, whoop! So that's exciting. I've been like dying to see them since we started this series, and now we can watch them. And the other thing is that I can look at some end credits this week. Geo Knowledge shared in episode 5 that, just a heads up, there are end credits for episodes 7, 12, 13, 19, 22, and 23. I don't feel like that's too spoilery because, one, it's nice to know just in case if I was going to watch the ending credits now anyway, but that's good to know. And two, there's like 5 different episodes with end credits, so, and half of them are towards the end, so I'm not surprised. We'll just see where we go with that. But I don't have any other comments. Nobody has left comments, so nobody has left comments that aren't spoilery. Let's phrase it that way. I forget which episode it was, but there was a lot of spoilers in that comments section, so I couldn't read any of those. But I did watch the dub for episode 6, which is pretty straightforward. Nothing crazy till the very end. I do want to make note. Mayuri's voice actress is heartbreaking. She broke my heart in the English dub, where at the very beginning when she was walking away from Ruka, she was like, even if I didn't go, I wouldn't be any help here. And I was like, Mayuri, don't say that, sweetheart. And then when she's talking to Kagari about losing her memory, she's like, amnesia must be the saddest thing in the world to happen to anyone. And then you just see Okarin like side-eyeing. You're like, oh my God. And also J. Michael Tatum, amazing job of just talking to Maho at the end about moving forward and realizing that Kagari and Amadeus are not Kurisu. Like, it was all great. I was like, you're doing so well, Okarin. And then, for whatever reason, Amadeus shuts down, curiously enough, and these people come in, and we gotta wait and see if anything's gonna happen to Mayuri or not. I honestly, before we start, I don't know. I talked about it last episode. I don't think Mayuri's going to die, because then who's going to take care of Kagari in the future? But also, I'm like, does Maho die? What's going to happen? Is Mr. Braun going to interrupt it? Like, is Kagari going to get killed and we have to go from there? Like, what are we doing? So there's a lot that I'm curious. Kagari would make the most sense narratively because she's an adult in this version right now. So if they killed her, then the question is to like try to undo things. That makes the most sense with the least paradoxic stakes, but I don't know what they're going to end up doing. So I guess we're just gonna find out. So that's all we can do. But anyway, so thank you all so much for commenting, for liking the video. Please like and subscribe if you want to see. We're going to be doing Steins Gate 0 this week and next week, and then you'll have to check out my May update to see how that's all going to shape out. But it'll be on my community post over on YouTube. It will also be on a Patreon post at the very end of the month. So with that being said, I'm glad actually I had this soda finished out because I also have a thing of tea here. I've been talking so much for work these last few days that my throat is like not sore or anything, but I can feel my vocal cords being strained. And I'm like, ugh, if y'all didn't get me shows that I talked a lot for, then what can we do? So anyway, with that being said, we're not going to waste any more time. I do want to give a shout out very quickly before we begin over to our philanthropy tier over on Patreon to thank you all so much for supporting the channel and for supporting the shows that I watch. A special shout out to Alex Cornejo, to Miss Yan Rose, to Be Happy, to Dana, to Damage3245, to Daniel, to Devorin, to Destiny Marie, to Diana Williams, to Ichu, Eric, Fisho, Ghostly Turnip, James, El Freya, as well as Poppy, Jessica Cullen, as well as Pancake, Linden, Murphy, Rast, Rose Jennison, Sunspots, Translucent Men, Shimoyama, Zero Anti-Zero, Nicholas Sean, and Jason N. Thank you all so much for your support. I greatly appreciate it. All of my love. So yeah, we're going to get started, y'all, and God, see what happens in this. I'm so glad I can watch the OP and ED and not skip it, but we're going to get started here in 3, 2, 1, and let's do it to it. Yeah, we back. Oh, you done knew. Yeah, okay. I thought with this episode it was getting complicated enough already, but maybe the show creator was like, oh, they've already figured out that Yuki's the one going after Kagari, so because it's clearly Yuki. But I was like, oh, okay. So we're going to talk about this, but I thought things were going in an interesting direction, and I was like, okay, well, what are we going to do about this, and what are we going to do about that? And then the world line shifts for the first time officially in this episode, and I was like, oh no. The world line shifting is scary enough when Okarin's in control of the world line shifting. It is absolutely, utterly terrifying when Okarin is not in control and someone else is doing the world line shifting, which we know has to be Kurisu's dad, right? Because he's the one working with the Russians, and they talked about the earthquake happening and all that, so we're gonna have to map this out. But this is like a damn game of Clue. Everyone is suspicious, and I'm like, I don't know. But here's the thing. All bets are off. If he's gone back to the Alpha World line, because he wouldn't be able to see Kurisu unless he went back to the Alpha World line, because the beta one that he's in now is the one where Kurisu is dead and Mayuri's alive. So if he goes back to the one where Mayuri is dead and Kurisu's alive, well, then what do we do with that? Is he going to try to go back to the world line where Mayuri's alive and Kurisu is dead, or is he going to try to work out in this line? Like, how's that going to work? So, I don't know. This cliffhanger is like a big... I'm glad we're watching episode 8 next week, because I need to know things. So, anyway, we need to talk about this episode, and Whiteboard Coon needs to help us out, as my dog is all about this. So, skip the recap here. Crunchyroll's doing a weird thing with the recap. We know that these guys are related to CERN somehow. And of course, I get very sad for Okarin, because he's like dealing with this frustration of, having to get deja vu and relive all of this over again. I feel for him. We need to get some screenshots side by side, because I want to talk about some of them as we go. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1. I now know why every female character, with the exception of Ruka, got a boob job in this series, because they wanted to make it difficult for you to determine who's the culprit. Every woman had to get a breast implant or boob lift so you wouldn't be able to tell. Ruka's the only one that's clearly innocent in all of this, because he's a dude. So clearly. But yeah, so okay, we need to make note that in this world line, we're going to start out talking about this, where in this world line, as far as we know, Mayuri is still alive, so that's good. The one who is being targeted is Kagari, who is being referred to as K6205. Now, to me, that sounds like a sleeper agent thing. Like, they were just, like, experiment names. They were given numbers. But we find out it is actually code name for a Mozart piece that we're going to go back and talk about later on in this. But yeah, so we've got that. This group is looking as if they are connected to CERN, possibly. If not, if they're not connected to CERN, because we're going to talk about Mr. Braun later on, then it's some organization that is trying to get Kagari away from the group. Now, what's interesting is that in the Alpha World line, the whole thing was that in the Alpha World line, they were after the IBM machine because that was going to help CERN. And Moeka was hired by Braun to go and get it. That was how that worked in this world line. Here, it's a little bit more sinister, whereas instead of going and acquiescing a object, we're acquiescing a person. So the question is, why? Why do we care about Kagari? Why is she important? We need to put these questions over here to the side. Things that are important to note. Why do we care about Kagari? We know that she's had this whole thing about hearing voices. Like she had this whole thing about hearing voices, which, you know, does she have the reading Steiner as well? Is she like Okarin and has the reading Steiner and just doesn't know what it is? We don't know. Why do we care about Kagari? Because she comes from the future. And I'm just thinking out loud. She's from the future. The only thing she had on her was that Upa, which has no significance except to identify her as who she is for Mayuri and the others. She was taken in as an orphan from Mayuri. She was a child then, and that was like, what, 15, 20 years later? So she wasn't around during this time. My camera cut out, so we're going to try this again. But yeah, she doesn't have, I don't know why they want Kagari. The only thing I can think of is the time she was there in that world line between 2000 to 2011, or 2012, I guess. What happened? I'm asking all these hypothetical questions because we probably need to know this. What happened? Why does it matter? She has amnesia that's clearly tied to it, but what in those 12 years happened to her that would cause her to be tracked by a group? These are big questions we don't have answers to. But when we saw her here, I was like, okay, this is not, when we first saw like the leather, like motorcycle suit, I was like, oh my God, it is Moeka. But no, it's not Moeka. I don't believe it's Moeka because Moeka would not hide behind a helmet. One, she has too much hair. That's a joke. But two, I don't know why Moeka would need to. There's no real reason for her to hide that. And also, as Okarin kind of deduces, she's probably still working for Braun, but Braun would not target Kagari with his daughter up there. Like, there's no way he would do that. He wouldn't put his daughter in danger in that way. So it's not him, it's not Moeka. So then my next logical step was, and if they hadn't showed us Yuki with the wrapped wrist, if they hadn't been really damn obvious about it, because I was like, are you serious? You went from Agatha Christie to Goosebumps in like 2 seconds? If they hadn't shown us Yuki at the cafe, which maybe it's a red herring. Maybe it's a red herring. My thought was, it is the woman that is Maho's like mentor figure that is my doppelganger from the lab. I thought it was her because she was up there at the shrine and she gave this like very not subtle like side eye to Kagari, like, oh, there she is. Like, she did that the last episode, so I'm like, okay, well, she's probably after Kagari. And so I thought, she's after Kagari, this is her. And then the scene with Yuki happened, and I was like, which we'll talk about with the friends, because I want to get in more detail with that, but I was like, either it's a red herring, and they did that to completely throw us off, or that is very obvious storytelling. It's one of the two. It is one of the two. She's either the one that is in this outfit right now, or it's a red herring and it's someone else. But the thing that complicates it is now we're in a different world line, so it could entirely change. And it's like, Steins Gate, why you do this? Why are you doing this to us? Stop it. So yeah, I do think he's like, don't tell me it was you after all, but it is not Moeka. Then we get the OP. Glad we have this OP. These world lines changing. No. I do like Okarin reaching towards the sun. I feel like I'm going to be talking about the OP for a while every episode, so we're just going to skip it for now. But I'm glad I can finally watch it. Yay. Here's my thing. The guy with the one mask there, I like that we have... Okay. Oh, this is interesting. What was being watched by the girl downstairs was this comedy show. It was the same comedy show being shown downstairs. It gets turned off by the gun here. Why did they shoot the TV? Was it just to like prove a point that the guns were loaded and they were a threat? Or since she's watching the show downstairs, is it connected to CERN monitoring them? And they wanted CERN not to be... Because here's the thing. Braun shows up like... He's been, you could look at it two ways. Either Braun was suspicious the moment he saw that guy on the stakeout outside of his shop, and he was like, I don't trust the situation. And he was on the lookout waiting for, and when they went upstairs, he was like, or the TV is connected to downstairs, and that's a way that he's using it to monitor, like, because he's associated with CERN. And so he saw something was going on and was like, I don't like this, and went upstairs to check it out. Again, we don't know. We'll probably find out later, but they shoot the TV regardless. I'm just glad they didn't shoot anybody. I'm glad they didn't shoot anyone. Here's my thing. They're like, K6205 is secured, and they went to grab her. Here's my thing. Unlike Kiryu's group that, shot Mayuri and everything, they don't make any attempt, which to me would lead me to believe that here's where it gets complicated, right? Because if it was Yuki that's in that outfit, I would understand why they didn't shoot anybody, because right in front of her are all the people that she probably maybe cares about, Daru included. But if it was also the friend of the professor, I could see why she wouldn't have anybody being shot, because Maho is right there as well, and she doesn't want Maho to get hurt. So it could be either woman. It could be either lady. It's either Yuki or Yuki is a red herring for the other woman. In my mind, it's one of the two. It's one of the two. I just can't decide if the show is being that obvious, because that doesn't feel like Steins Gate, or if it's a deliberate red herring and it's trying to throw us off and be like, gotcha. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. I do think it's very suspicious that the professor, so we'll get to Maho's scene in a little bit, but the professor is gone. The friend is gone, which I don't like any of that. And then Amadeus is shut down and is not accessible. Now, the question is, whenever Okarin gets the call that says, help me, and it sounds like Kurisu, why? Why was it Kurisu, was it Amadeus? If it was Kurisu, how? How did that transverse over world lines? How does that work? What was going on? What? If it was Amadeus, why would an AI system say, help me? Why would it need to? I mean, I guess it has the memories of a human, so if it, feels emotions like a human, sure, I guess. But I just don't understand. So, lots of things to think about. But the good news is that no one gets shot, and Mr. Braun shows up and is like, bitch, what? The moment Mr. Braun showed up and started taking these guys out and said, I told you to keep quiet on the second floor, the moment he started taking them out, I was like, oh, he's still working for CERN. I was like, oh, that has not changed at all. This man was ready to throw down, being like, I'm pretty sure I told you not to hurt my daughter. Am I worried that something is going to happen to Mr. Braun and the world line that Okarin briefly envisioned, where Nai is standing over Moika with the knife and is bloody? Do I think there is a slight possibility that timeline could still happen in this series? Yeah, I do, especially now that we know that he is working with CERN. Nothing changed in that regard. And Moika is still working for him. Nothing changed in that regard. Yeah, I do think it's very possible. He's still FB. So, it makes me nervous. But in any case, he managed to get out of there. Now, this is the part here. Suzuha came up while he was doing that. Suzuha came up, and while she was leaving, you can't see the back of her head, damn it. Here came Suzuha, and she kicked her in the wrist. So, I mean, the fell down some stairs does not seem to... It's like the oldest trick in the book. Again, I would like to think, but here's the rub of it. I would like to think Steins Gate's smarter than that, and they would not automatically show us her wrist because it's so obvious. But there could be a twist with it being Yuki if there's a reason why Yuki is trying to take her. maybe there's something to it. We'll talk a little bit more in a little bit about it. But yeah, it's in the same spot. So they leave. Also, yeah, the idea that Yuki nearly got her own daughter shot in that lab is insane to me. Like, what? Don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. So yeah, so Nai's okay. Everything's fine. And Okarin's like, you got some explaining to do, Okarin. And he's like, who the hell were those folks? And he's like, well, if they're not with CERN, that's, you know. Then there's these two. Are these two in cahoots, or did they just happen to show up? I mean, I guess they ran out the door, so it was just good timing that they weren't there, I suppose. But the one guy, Braun claims to not know them. So they're probably not CERN, or if they are people he does not know. And then the two friends showed up, which I guess they're the ones staying with Mayuri through this whole thing. One is assuming. But yeah, damn. Like, we got everybody some drinks to get crunk. What's going on? What happened to the TV? And I do like this moment of Daru being like, yeah, whatever's going on is clearly connected to Okarin, clearly connected to his PTSD. What do we do about this? I don't know. It's not. So this episode is called Eclipse of Vibronic Transition, which I had to go look up what in the world vibronic transitions are, because we know what an eclipse is, right? And the world lines overlapping each other is the biggest indication of the whole eclipse thing. But I'm like, okay, well, what are vibronic transitions? Well, there is not a specific page on Wikipedia for vibronic transitions, but there is for this concept called vibronic spectroscopy. Spectroscopy. That's we're just gonna go with it. Basically is a branch of molecular spectroscopy concerned with vibronic transitions, the simultaneous changes in electronic and vibrational energy levels of a molecule due to the absorption or emission of a photon of the appropriate energy. Basically, the time machine's getting activated. And so it's like the eclipse of the two world line changes, the eclipse of time machines starting up, changing world lines. I don't like it happening while it's not Okarin's control. I hate it. It also kind of ties to the OP song, where the OP song talks about there are no gods, it's just the world. We've spent all of Steins Gate believing that Okarin had this ability like a god, but now in this series we're realizing, no, it's just a bunch of men, and probably women, who have time machine control. Not gods, they're just humans with way too much power in their hands. So anyway, there's a whole like level about it and all that, but I think it basically rounds out to being the concept of we have these world lines finally eclipsing and overlapping, 7 episodes into the series, ha 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 ha, fun times. But yeah, so I'm glad that Maho and Mayuri made it back to their office. Daru and Okarin kind of debrief, and Daru's like, look, they were after Kagari. Why? And that's the question of the day. Do we think that has something to do with, they're like, the group probably knows she comes from the future. Does it have something to do with the fact she was missing for 12 years and what happened during those 12 years? I'm going to say yes, probably. So the same organization with CERN's Rounders attacked and captured us for developing a time machine, which at this point they haven't developed a time machine. So that's good. CERN has no reason to target them otherwise. But then what do we do with Kagari? That's the big question. Even if the world line changed, Tenoji, aka Mr. Braun, should still be the boss running things in Akihabara. So if he's the enemy, it would be weird for him to help us, and why it means that Kiryu's not the one in the motorcycle suit. And so then, yeah, poor Daru, he's like in Akiba in Japan with guns being used. This whole World War III looming scenario really does seem like it's sneaking up on us. That is what gets me too. Because, as you know, in our current state of affairs in the U.S. and worldwide, things are a little bit tumultuous in places. And it's one of those things where stuff like this just doesn't happen overnight. It's stuff that slowly builds up over time with little things that snowball into bigger things. And I feel like Daru kind of points out that, wow, you know, this whole World War III stuff, I thought it'd be all really dramatic, and this is kind of like a subtle little shift. Yeah, like a shift in the world line. Exactly. Exactly like it. It's becoming like Suzuha said. And he's like, I'm waiting for the joke. And it's like, He's like, I know, I remembered it. The gun smoke, the screams, and the blood. I feel so bad for Okarin because he's having to relive this now in a different way, but it's evoking the same emotions. Like, our poor dude, like, he's getting thrown through the ringer, right? He's like, maybe this was the choice of Steins Gate. What I loved about this conversation is he's like, Steins Gate. He's like, it sounds more pathetic the more I think about it. I think because, you know, Steins Gate back in the, you know, first series was always Okarin's like, you know, his excuse, his way of escape, his way of like justifying this weirdness happening around him. But now that he knows about time machines and CERN and these organizations, the Steins Gate stuff, he's like, that was just me making an excuse and being childish. But we know from episode 24 of the original series that there is a Steins Gate world line. He just has not reached it yet. He's stuck between this beta and alpha. He's like, I love Daru helping him walk away. And then, of course, Daru, like, jinxes it, saying, do you think something like this will happen again? He's like, we've got to make sure it doesn't. He's like, and so then we cut to Maho, who's trying to call the professor, but this number's been disconnected, which is ominous as F. I don't like that at all. I don't like the fact that she's in this place alone, in this lab, where Amadeus has been shut off. She can't get a hold of the professor or her friend. All of that is highly suspect. I would like to think that the professor, Alex, I'd like to think he's not involved in a scary negative villain way, but the mentor, the friend, oh yeah, 100%. I think she's suspicious. I think she's possibly involved, if not the mastermind. So she's like, why is he missing during an emergency? And this whole thing with the error note on connecting to Amadeus, this is given like Jurassic Park's the park is shut down vibes. And I know what happened to Samuel L. Jackson. I don't want Maho to get in the midst of all this and get hurt. I'd like that to not happen. So please show if we could get on that. I don't like it. What is going on? So good to know that Daru and them like hooked up a lot of cameras and security measures to keep Ruka safe. Good to know Ruka is safe in here. My thing is, Ruka's figured it out. Ruka's kind of figured out what's going on. And I'm like, Suzuha, I understand keeping, obviously, Daru from revealing that Yuki is her mom, because that is, you know, will change the future possibly if that's revealed. But I'm like, girl, you've done a pretty piss poor job of not hiding, like calling Okarin Uncle Okarin while Ruka's there and calling Ruka Big Bro and Mayuri Big Sis. I mean, like, it doesn't take a lot of rocket science to figure out, like, what we're talking about time machines and you're saying all this stuff. What? Like, Ruka just needs to go to the roof of the apartment complex and see the time machine and she'll know, or he'll know. So yeah, just, I don't know. I really half expected Suzuha to reveal to Ruka what was going on, but I do like the argument that they are wanting to, that I like Suzuha's argument that Okarin does not want to get Ruka involved to keep him safe. I did like that. Also, the fact that Suzuha was like gonna kind of hang out and watch over Kagari. I keep waiting for Kagari to get her memories back. And I also like that Ruka said the L-Psi Kongri. Instead of Kongru, says L-Psi Kongri. That's a good catch. But I like that the L-Psi Kongri instead of Kongru is Ruka's way of gathering courage to, in this moment, ask Suzuha what's going on exactly. So that was really good. But yeah, I really would have expected Suzuha to have hit all this information a wee bit better. But at least, you know, I do like the fact that Suzuha says it's better if you don't know, and Okarin wanted to keep you safe and to keep you out of it because, which I thought about this during the reaction. Okarin and Ruka have had conversations in the OG world line where Ruka was affected and had their memories tampered with. So trying to keep Ruka out of this to keep them safe is like trying to keep Mayuri or Daru out of it to keep him safe, but you know those memories are going to catch up and be there, so I'm not sure how effective that is. But in any case, I do feel it was kind of a double-edged sword in this scene, because on the one hand, I feel like Ruka does get a little bit of the shaft in the series, and I would like Ruka to have a little bit more of like a validated scenes as a character. I feel like they're kind of just a tag-along, or they're just there to connect the plot when it is needed. But then on the other hand, I do like the fact that Okarin did not want to involve them to possibly hurt their world line. So do with that what you will. You gotta just take it as a double-edged sword. And I don't blame Ruka. Ruka's like, I want to share in your worries and be with you all. And Suzuha's like, there is a reason you've got to stay completely apart from this world. That's what saves him. And Ruka's like, what can I even say to that? I mean, what can Ruka say? It's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. I want to be part of this world that you all are all struggling through. But then if I am, it's going to make Okarin miserable. So stuck between a rock and a hard place. So then we go back to Braun's shop. It's New Year's Day. It's New Year's Day. And again, there's that same show that was on the TV the night before. Isn't that weird? That feels coincidental. It feels like a butterfly effect. I don't know how else to describe it. It feels like a butterfly effect. The TV was shot on that show last night, and then this day it's back to it. I don't know what to make of that. But anyway, I was a little nervous at first about Okarin having this conversation, but then I'm glad that he did and that Braun's on the same page as him, so it could. But what does it even matter? We've switched world lines. It's just like I was sitting during the reaction thinking of all these things I wanted to talk about with you all, and then the moment the end credit scenes happened, I was like, flip the table. I was like, what's the point? Now we're switching world lines. Damn it. But like, is he gonna try to get back? Can he? I don't know. It would be crazy if he was in that world line for a hot second and then the world line changed again and he was like, son of a bitch, and he went back to where he was. That would be crazy. If this cliffhanger ends up being a 5-minute thing in the next episode, I will scream. Oh my God. So prepare for that. Prepare your ears for that if that happens. And he's like, here, you know what? You could be a good girl. I like how he says at first, be a good girl and go outside. And then he's like, oh no, you could be targeted outside. Watch an anime over there. And she's like, hell yeah, you got Digimon Season 2, papa. And then he's like, get the headphones on. He's like, I'm pretty sure. Whatever this anime is this Dororo? Is this Hunter x Hunter? Is this the one character, like his face looks like, what is that? My brother was really into it. Is it like Hitman Reborn? I've never watched Hitman Reborn, but I've seen so many like Shonen Jump ads for it. He looks like the little assassin for Hitman Reborn, but then also it looks like a cross between Hunter x Hunter and Dororo. Mappa really lost their budget on this one. So that's honestly funny. I don't know if there is any significance to the snake to the man stabbing the snake. I don't know if there's any significance to that. I guess we'll find out. But yeah, I also think that Okarin is really brave in this moment, because Okarin from season 1, I don't know if he would be able to have this conversation. I don't know if he would be mentally prepared to have this conversation. I don't know if he would be emotionally stable to have this conversation. I don't know if he would know what he would want to say to Braun in this conversation. So for Okarin to stand up and push all of that trauma he experienced aside to even have this conversation is pretty crazy. Is pretty crazy in itself. So I thought that was really interesting. But yeah, okay, so then we have, let's go back to Yuki in this scene. So Yuki is going over what happened and says, why didn't you tell the police? Which on the surface is a very reasonable thing for a friend to ask. On things aside, it's like, is she fishing for information to figure out what they've told people and what else she can get away with? And like, Okarin said to hold off. She's like, well, they had guns, didn't they? Yeah, he's got something to tell us. And she's like, are you going to the lab? And they're like, well, Daru said no one is stupid enough to attack twice in a row. Well, don't tell the shooter that. And she's like, what does she say there? She's like, no, the thing is, I wish I could come too. So, okay, this part was interesting. And she's like, oh, I tripped and fell over yesterday. There's a couple things. One, why would she say she wishes she could come unless she's using work as the excuse to not be there, right? Unless she's using work as an excuse to not be there. And then sure, that would be like, oh, I wish I could come, guys, but I just got work. I can't go. And then they see the arm. She's like, oh, I just tripped and fell. I fell down some stairs, you know. So that feels obvious, but it could genuinely be an excuse. So, okay, fair enough. Also, now, last week, I was like, oh, thank goodness Yuki's not going to the party with them. She has to work. Oh, what a good convenient plot point. Because I thought it was the mangaka's way of not putting her in harm's way so that she wouldn't get shot. Because if she gets shot and killed, no Suzuha. But now it seems like, oh no, the plot was having her not having to go to work because she literally was going to show up later on as the person kidnapping Kagari. So, I don't know. I am 99% sure that in this timeline, Yuki is the one trying to take Kagari. Why? I don't know. But I'm 1% in the theory that it's actually the friend of the professor's, and she's the one behind it. And I'm like, it feels just so obvious she's her, but at the same time, it being so obvious feels like a setup for a twist. So I don't know. So machines and world lines, that's hard to believe. I can't believe he told Braun all of this. I cannot believe he told Braun all of this. This feels like, to tell somebody working for CERN about the time machines and everything, I'm like, that seems so dangerous. But I don't know. I mean, like, what if he tells CERN? And what if he tells CERN and then they get involved with the whole Russia thing and Kurisu's dad? And I don't like it. I don't like it. He said, what you said about me is true. Your facts are spot on enough that it's creeping me out. And he's like, look, I don't know. I know enough to not put you in danger. So we're all good, right? And he's like, that's convenient that you framed it that way, but you're not wrong. CERN doesn't know anything about me, and it's no problem as long as you keep quiet about me being around her. But what's the reason for you telling me this? And Okarin's like, okay, I basically need you to be a bodyguard. He's like, I need you to help protect Kagari while we figure all of this out. And I know you have the means and you have a select set of skills that would be essential for that to work. Now, again, all of this setup in this episode, I was so excited for this setup. All of this is being set up. And does it even matter now? So frustrating. Damn it. So frustrating. I also wondered if Nai overheard. I feel like Nai, as a kid in this series, knows way more than they let on. I feel like they know way more than they let on, you know? So, I don't know. They're like, if you let Kagari and me work part-time here, it shouldn't be that much work for you. Well, then they have the whole part-time work thing. So instead of having Mawika part-time, now we have Suzuha again, and we have Kagari. And then Nai is like, I don't know what's happened, but you're being scary. And I don't want these people to leave. And he's like, damn it. So he's like, fine, but I'm splitting the pay. You should be thankful, or I'll raise the rent. No, Green's like, we don't have to do that. Not that it matters, but anyway. So, okay, I want to go back to these things where they're talking about, you think Kagari is wrapped up in some sort of crime. So, yeah, Kagari in some sort of crime. She very much could be, or she could have been experimented on as an orphan, or a group could have found out she was from the future. There's so many possibilities. We have no clue where to start. But I like that these signs also say new ways. Meaning that we're about to have a new world line. Damn it, son of a bitch. And then on top of that, we get this other one that says Akihabara Dreamers. Dreams, new ways, discount computers. All of it is very concerning, y'all. All of it is very concerning with the Aki map. I don't like it. And she's afraid of the police. Well, what a coinkydink that she's afraid of the police. Who would have thought? Here's the thing. What if, again, the twist. What if Yuki is involved, but Yuki is trying to save the world from World War III, and Yuki trying to save the world involves them needing to have Kagari within their grasp to keep Kagari from maybe being taken from the professor or the mentor woman with my glasses that's my doppelganger. Maybe it's that. Because a part of me, I was going to talk about during the cafe scene, a part of me was like, well, how does she end up with Daru if she was like holding them at gunpoint? And so there are two options that I kind of would weigh out there. One option is that she's actually on a side that is good, and she's trying to keep Kagari away from Amadeus or away from Maho or something like that. That's a possibility. That could be a twist. And instead of being a danger that Okarin has to worry about, she's actually a salvation. That could be interesting. And then it would make sense if they're working against CERN, why she would end up with Daru if she's already part of some kind of like resistance group. That would all connect. That would all actually make sense. So, okay, we'll take that. The other thing is if it's not that, and Yuki is actually the villain working with CERN or whatever, or a group adjacent that's, you know, invested in this time travel stuff too, it could be kind of like a Vegeta-Bulma situation, just reversed, where Yuki is kind of like the Vegeta, where she's working for a nefarious group, and Daru is like Bulma that has like the tech knowledge and everything, and they kind of fall for each other, and Daru influences her to like, you know, not be bad anymore and be good, and then they get together and whatever, what have you. It's like she was double crossing him, but then she fell in love, you know, one of those scenarios. It's one of the two. It's one of the two, I think. But yeah, the police, they could be connected to all of this. They're like, I don't know. And then we have that damn radio building. They're only targeting Kagari, but we need to steer clear of the building. What about Kakari? They're after her. And they're like, we got 2 bodyguards on her, people we can trust. And they're like, Suzu and Mr. Braun, they can handle it, sure. And we're going to keep doing research of our own to find out what's going on. And so Ferris brings up the neighborhood street watch, and Ruka's like, can I help? I'm just sitting here doing nothing. And Mayuri's like, well, can I too? And I get where, you know, Okarin's coming from. He's like, you know, Mayuri, you are not helping because you died last time you were involved in this. And Ruka, you know, you've already housed Kagari, so you're probably in danger yourself. So, nope, we're not going to do that as well. I do not think I don't think Ferris is the one responsible for trying to take them either. I think Ferris was there during the party, so it can't be her. Anyway. And then they're like, is there anything else we can do? And they talked about K6205. And so then it's a phonetic code used by... Okay, so then we had this thing on the TV that was talking about an earthquake in Russia. Don't like that. Don't like this whole thing about earthquakes in Russia. There's like a butterfly effect. What's going on? Are they using time machines? It's like everything's on the news right in front of them and nobody's paying attention, and it freaks me out. I don't like it. So it said download the instruction manual for phone model K6205. Ranking K6205 red. Floor materials are parquet. Then they said it was tied to the Western world, which, again, it could go both ways if you're trying to make a red herring. It could be with the friend of the professor who has been in the Western world, could be tied to her. It also could be tied to Yuki, who is from where? America. So, or has been at American conventions, so she's familiar with that side of the planet. What do we do? What do we do? So yeah, it's stuff like product numbers. And then that's when the friend brings up the knives of Koche numbering. They were numbers assigned to each of Mozart's compositions. But then again, he didn't make 600,000 songs. How many songs did Mozart make? Mozart compositions number. He made, in his catalog, how many works? Oh yeah, so we have K6. Oh, that's how he did. Okay, cool, crazy. Oh God, he made a lot. Oh wow, he made a lot. Like, oh buddy. Yeah, he sure, oh my God. How many this man made? Like over, yeah, like over 628, well, it keeps going. Ha! 721 songs at least. Dear God, Mozart, my dude. When did he die? He was not very old when he died. Man was chucking out music, which you didn't have the internet back then, so what could you do? He was 35. He was younger than me when he died. I have not made 700 songs. I mean, I've made like nearly 3,000 videos. Do we count that? So what a world. Okay, so they go to song 620, and like part 5 of it. And they're going to the same wiki that I'm about to go to. And so the Magic Flute, I'm going to butcher that in German, Die Zauberflöte, it is famous for the Masonic elements of symbols. Yeah, of course the Masons are involved. Dear God. So the Magic Flute, let's talk about this. We're looking up here. Oh, I want to hear how you say it.
Die Zauberflöte.
Zauberflöte.
Die Zauberflöte.
I was close. Die Zauberflöte. All right. It's an opera in 2 acts by Wolfgang Amadeus to a German libretto. It is a singspiel, a popular form with singing and spoken dialogue. Well, I just watched one of those on my channel, so there you go. In 1791, I want to go to the composition of it. It was the culmination of Mozart's increasing involvement with Emanuel Schikaneder, this theatrical troupe. I want to know what it is about because I want to know the plot. So the synopsis. The overture is composed after the other parts of the opera were complete, with a 3-chord sequence from the brass associated with the priests of temple wisdom. The number 3 is highly significant in Freemasonry and occurs in the number of ladies, boys, and temples. It transitions in adagio and a lively fugue in E-flat minor. Scene 1 is a rough, rocky landscape. I'm getting flashbacks to the OP. Tamino, we're going to write this down. So in this we have Tamino, is a handsome prince lost in a distant land. Well, a handsome prince lost in a distant land in a different world line seems like Okabe. Boom. Pursued by a serpent. Oh! Was the anime that Nai watching, was it Tamino fighting the serpent in the desert? Is that an Easter egg to that? Okay. Asking the gods to save him. Which, oh my God, you had Amadeus or Kurisu, one of the two, were asking at the end of the episode Okabe to help them. Oh my gosh. So that's tied to it. He faints, and 3 ladies, attendants of the Queen of Night, appear and kill the serpent. They find the unconscious prince extremely attractive, and each of them tries to persuade the other 2 to leave her alone with him. And after arguing, they decide to leave together. Well, here's my thing. The 3 attendants, to me, if you're talking about 3 that are, you could look at it as Maho, Kurisu, and also Mayuri. Are they the 3 attendants? Or is it the ones that he's not been with, which is Ferris, Moika, and Ruka? I know Ruka's a dude, but bear with me. These are 3 that had interactions with Okarin, and nothing came of it. So, we'll see. We'll see. Tamino wakes up and is surprised to find himself still alive, and the serpent is dead. Papagino enters dressed as a bird. He describes his life as a bird catcher, complaining he has no wife or girlfriend. Is Papagino Daru? Maybe? So we have Papagino, which, if he was Daru, he is a papa, so there's that. Tamino introduces himself to Papagino thinking that he killed the serpent. He takes the credit, claiming he strangled it. Well, yeah. The 3 ladies suddenly reappear, and instead of giving him wine, cake, and figs, they give him water, a stone, and a padlock, and padlock his mouth closed as a warning not to lie. They give him a portrait of the Queen of Night's daughter, Pamina, with whom Tamino falls instantly in love with. Well, Pamina, I would think Pamina would be Kurisu. So maybe this is supposed to be Kagari. I don't know. Anyway, the ladies return and tell that Pamina has been captured by Sarastro, who they describe as a powerful evil demon. Tamino vows to rescue her. The Queen of the Night appears and promises that Pamina will be his if he rescues her from Sarastro. The Queen and ladies leave, and Papagino can only hum and bemoan the padlock on his mouth, which sounds like something that would happen to Daru, to be fair. The ladies return and remove the padlock with a warning not to lie anymore. They give Tamino a magic flute, which has the power to change sorrow into joy, and Papagino magic bells for protection, telling him to go with him. The ladies tell the 3 boys The ladies tell of 3 boys who will guide Tamino and Papageno to Sarasto's temple. Together, Tamino and Papageno set forth. Okay, so there are 3 boys who are supposed to guide them. Well, if we view Ruka as one of the boys, we also have the professor, and we also have Braun. So maybe they're going to help as well? So scene 2 is Pamina is dragged into dragged in by Sarasto's slaves, having tried to escape. Which Sarasto could also be her dad. It could be the professor's mentor. I'm not sure. Papageno is sent ahead by Tamino to help find Pamina. And then they're terrified by each other's strange appearance, and they both flee, thinking of each other as the devil. Papageno returns to announce that her mother has sent Tamino to save her. She rejoices to hear that he's in love with her. This sounds like Kurisu, though. Okay, so then there's a grove in front of a temple. The 3 boys lead Tamino to Sarasto's temple, promising that if he remains patient, wise, and steadfast, he will succeed in rescuing her. So I want to get to see what exactly ends up happening. They search for Tamino. They're recaptured. Pamino falls at Sarasto's feet and confesses she tried to escape because he forced his attentions to her. Well, that does sound like the dad, actually. Okay. Pamino, interesting. There's a little bit of misogyny in this play, but in 1791, I'm not surprised. So then they bring in Tamino. The lovers see each other for their first time and embrace. Well, there's the end of this episode, which is crazy. And then, interesting. And there's a second act. This is a long-ass play. Okay. So the temporal of the ordeal. Okay. There's a trial that's involved. I feel like I'm going to have to come back to this as we go to see if things end up happening. There's a garden. There's a pyramid. There's mountains. There's a temple of the sun. We're going to save this page. Because there's like a whole deal. And I don't want to spoil things if it ends up affecting the plot as we go. But we'll have to go back to return to this. So we're going to return to Act 2, I'm sure, at some point. So we'll go back to that. But I want to get back to the episode. Anyway, all the symbolisms. So fun times with this. But then Amadeus. I can't connect to Amadeus' server at all. So that's when he goes and sees there's calls from Mayuri. Then he goes to call Maho. Now, I was a little bit upset because Maho was not helpful. Maho was like, did something happen? He's like, I need to ask something. And she's like, I'm kind of busy. I was like, if this is dealing with like the world lines and stuff, you would think that Maho would talk to him a little bit more and try to work more with him. But to Maho's credit, she is kind of short. She is short. That was a weird way to end the sentence. But she is kind of like her own person. And she works on her own a lot, especially since Kurisu has died. So the fact that she isn't asking for Okarin's help and working with the others kind of makes sense. I get it. But she's like, I can't access. It's possible someone took it over. Which the concept of taking over Amadeus is terrifying. Right? So then Amadeus calls. And he answers it. And it's, please help me, Okabe. And in that moment, the world line shifts. And, oh, I hate it. Because it's like, what do we have here? It's like, it doesn't tell us where the world line ends. And I don't like that. It does not reveal where it's going to. Nope, I don't like it at all. We don't get where the world line ends. I hate it. Nope. Instead, we have this end credit scene, and suddenly the hourglass has fallen over. But here's the problem: when he gets off the phone, I feel like though, is he really in a different world line? Because is he in a different world line because he's still in the black instead of his trench coat? But I guess he could go the Alpha world line wearing that. I guess. But there's the couch, there's the fridge and everything. Where's the TV is fine, right? Everything has moved around a little bit. Is Daru not here? Because all that looks the same. So, and Amadeus is no longer there. So what do we do with that? He's like, did the world line change? And then he looks up. Because it's like, what's behind the screen? I want to see what's behind that curtain. What is there? Is she working on a time leap machine? What is going on? That's... for a hot second, I thought it might be Kagari, but it's clearly Kurisu with the bangs and the eye color. So, are they working on a time leap machine? What's happening? Why is she here? What, did we skip world lines? Is Mayuri dead? What are we doing? Is this a dream? Or is it, is it the reading Steiner? Because before he had that vision of being one place and then switching to the other place, and it was like a dream upon a dream upon a dream. It's like Inception. So is that what's happening here? I want to go back to the Magic Flute for a hot second. So, anyway, Tamino and Papagino are led by priests. There's different trials they have to go through, so that makes me think that Okarin and Daru are going to be working together to try to rescue Pamina. And so, there's some creepy stuff going on in this tale. I'm not pleased with it. I don't want to say it. Go read it yourself. But it's not a fun time. But yeah, Pamino... Okay, so it says she tries to speak with Tamino, but he's bound by a vow of silence and can't answer her. That sounds like Okarin not being able to admit that he loves Kurisu, or telling Amadeus he loved Kurisu. And Pamino begins to believe he no longer loves her and leaves in despair. That sounds like some second act nonsense that might happen in this series. I don't like that idea. So I'm so curious. It says that Pamino and Tamino have to bid farewell to each other before the greater trials begin, and they call it the final farewell. But an elderly woman reappears and warns him unless he immediately promises to marry her, he will be imprisoned forever. When Papagino promises, so it says Papagino grant his request for a glass of wine, and he expresses desire for a wife. An elderly woman reappears and warns him unless he immediately promises to marry her, he'll be imprisoned forever. When he promises to love her faithfully, muttering that he will only do this until something better comes along, oh my, she is transformed into the young and pretty Papagina. And he rushes to embrace her, but the priests drive him back, telling him he's not yet worthy of her. So is that him and Yuki? I don't know. But yeah. And then... Oh my gosh, why is Pamina trying to end her life in this? What happened in this play? I'm just reading this, all this stuff's popping out. Okay, so Pamina tries to... Why are all these women in these plays trying to commit suicide because their man seemingly abandoned them? I'm getting Ophelia vibes highly in this. Okay, the boys restrain her and reassure her of Tamino's love. And then apparently Tamino is going through all of these different trials and stages. Pamina calls him from off stage, but protected by she hands him the magic flute to help protect them through the trials, and they pass through unscathed. So maybe Amadeus will help Kurisu and him through the trials, or maybe none of this will matter next week. Oh my god. So yeah, apparently they get to, a plot to destroy the temple takes place. Pamina, the queen, confirms her promise to give Pamina to this other guy, but suddenly thunder and lightning happens. They're cast out into eternally night. Sarasto announces the sun's triumph over the night and the fraudulent power of hypocrites. So there's like a deus ex machina. The chorus hails the newly consecrated Tamina and Pamino and gives thanks to Isis and Osiris, who are part of this story. I just skipped over that part. So yeah, okay. We'll see if this pans out. But this felt back to form for Steins Gate, and I was very excited about that. But holy cow, what? Wild. Okay. Well, next week we're going to look at episode 8. So gear up for that, and then check my May 2026 update if you want to see, if you're watching this now in time with the channel. If you're watching this after the fact, then you'll see episodes 9 and so later on. But anyway, I'm excited to hear your thoughts down below. Please no spoilers, but I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'm back very soon, and we'll explore more of Steins Gate 0, and I'll see you then. Bye.